Chapter 7, The Top of the Mountain. I then share my homecoming. I describe landing in Newark Airport and seeing my father and other family members at the gate for a brief reunion on my layover destined for South Carolina and reuniting with Carmel. As I recount this, a previously unacknowledged awareness bubbles up from somewhere deep inside me. For the first time, I realize how surreal the return to normalcy has been. For me, I felt simultaneously overcome with joy to be back in the arms of my country and loved ones, while somehow feeling out of place. Part of me wants to be back in the war, back in the action. I don't understand this disconnect. Even though I'm a warrior, I hate war. War is humanity's biggest failure. Why do I miss it? Then, the reason for this disconnect dawns on me. Even though there was a lot to complain about during the war, like stupid Mickey Mouse regulations and senior officers vying for career advancement opportunities, in the big scheme of the entire conflict, those things were outliers that barely rose above the background noise. I felt a belonging in combat unlike any I had ever experienced. I felt a primordial bond. All of us in combat were inextricably dependent on each other for our very lives. We were not only fighting for our country, we were fighting for each other. Returning to the comfort of a civilized life seems mundane and trivial. Even though my reunion with Carmel, the love of my life, has been heaven on earth and a prayer answered, I, on some level, feel generally disoriented. Something is missing. Worse yet, I've noticed things about my country I've never noticed before. In spite of jubilation over winning the war and being on the receiving end of a public desire to do better by the Gulf War vets than the country did for our Vietnam vets, I have noticed in a profound way the deep divisions in America. Tuning into the news and seeing pundits spewing contempt for others simply for having a different opinion is now repugnant to me. I have heard rampant us versus them sound bites coming from all directions. I know that part of what I was fighting for was the freedom we all cherish so dearly, including freedom of speech. But this is different. Having the right to free speech does not mean you have a right to your own facts or your own truth. Having free speech is not a free pass to spew hatred or to abandon civil discourse. Watching the news, I've seen that disproportionate attention is being put on our perceived differences, leading to divisions between rich and poor, black and white, male and female, Democrat and Republican, urban and rural, educated and uneducated. Of course, I acknowledge that people put too much attention on these differences even before the war. But after emerging from the Iraqi conflict, I see division in a new light. In the war, all those perceived differences melted away into insignificance. All that mattered was, are you fighting with us or against us? Are you part of our tribe or the enemy tribe? For us, it wasn't even whether you were American. All you had to be was part of the coalition. Now, back in the civilian world, it seems that most Americans have completely forgotten the bond that we all share as countrymen. It seems we are no longer Americans first. It seems that what is more important than being Americans is our perceived differences. What is missing is the community we shared in combat, the camaraderie of being brothers and sisters in arms, of being part of something bigger and more important than ourselves, of being willing to die for each other simply because we are part of the same community. During the war, it was as if each of us were all part of an overarching superbody. Each of the individual soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines of the various nations aligned against Iraq were like neurons of a giant brain. The cerebral cortex of that brain directing the activities of the body was headquarters. Our aircraft, ships, and weapon systems were the muscles of the giant body. We were combined, aligned, and organized into an overarching structure with a mission more important than its parts. In this case, the function of this brain was to punish, destroy, and liberate. Although our national leadership seemed to do much better in this conflict than past conflicts, the analogy breaks down when you introduce Washington. Maybe the politicians are the amygdala, the reptilian brain responsible for fear, anxiety, and aggression. It seems that I've come back to a world with the mantra, every man for himself. A world of corporate and individual corrupt greed. A world ripe with selfish Wall Street con artists trying to find their next sucker. A nation where it seems some politicians care more about themselves or their party than the country. A nation that has forgotten its motto, E Pluribus Unum, out of many, one. This world is in sharp contrast to the one-for-all mindset of military combat that I just left. Even seeing something as seemingly trivial as someone littering makes my blood boil. But whenever I'm with Carmel and the twins, this post-combat fog lifts. They remind me that I have a mission, that I have others depending on me. I have a purpose. I have a tribe.